Right. Okay, both of you lazy bums have had nothing to do since time began.
Fuck you, man. I just attended my dissertation yesterday, and you're calling me lazy. I'm already struggling with what to do.
What? Really? I have so much to do. There's so much rubbish on YouTube to watch. I don't know how people get bored. You know, being unemployed and all that. Like,
Yeah.
I could just do literally anything. I could learn how to knit.
You could.
That's true, you could.
Could learn how to skydive.
You could learn
Could
how to
learn
knit while
how to-
skydiving. That'd be fucking
Whilst
cool.
playing the harmonica.
I think playing the harmonica would be exceptionally hard while skydiving.
I think it'd be exceptionally
all
hard.
that air coming
Not
through.
even
Yeah,
whilst
with all the air.
skydiving.
Blow against the air. Against the updraft.
You got to make sure you're not screaming the entire way down first
Yeah.
before you want some kind of wind instrument
True.
to have to deal with. Like, yeah.
Maybe just the clarinet then.
Mm.
Start small.
Maybe the didgeridoo. You can kind of scream into it, I suppose. It just
Yeah.
amplifies the scream more than makes any kind of didgeridoo-ish sort of noise, I imagine. Oh dear.
Hello.
Yes. Should we begin?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, might as well.
Hello. Welcome to Tanked Up. I'm Ben. I'm here with Lucy.
Hello.
And, newly free Lucy, should we say.
Yeah.
And
Yay.
a newly free Aadil.
Hey!
And by free, I mean they have both completed their work commitments for the foreseeable future. Well, Aadil, you haven't quite completed your work commitment yet. There's still a little bit to come, isn't there?
Well, I mean, there's the
handed
teaching
in.
that's every week, and then there's the dissertation is handed in, and now we need to schedule Viva,
Yes.
and then I will defend it, and so long as I defend it well, then I will be done with school forever.
Hooray! Until you decide to learn something new, probably.
I think that I will stop at this terminal degree number 5.
Wow. You see, my one and only was more than enough, so I finished school 7, 8 years ago, something like that. So yeah,
I just
never looked back.
I just realized I've never had a single degree because I did my first 2 at the same time.
To be fair, does that mean I have? What does a joint count for then? Does that mean I have 2?
So you can have a joint, which is a double major is still 1 degree. I have
Oh.
2 pieces of paper that I earned simultaneously.
Yeah, I've got a joint, but mine's 1 piece of paper. It was
Yeah.
1
Yeah,
degree,
mine's
but it
1.
was... Yeah.
I still count it as 2.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Like mine was 4 years to get 2 as such, but
Mine
it was
was-
1. So I kind of,
Yeah.
that's maybe like 1.5, I suppose, really.
I
Maybe.
did my 2 4-year degrees in just over 5 years.
Nice.
Aren't we all so academic?
I
Yeah.
know.
It doesn't show if anyone's listening. It doesn't, come
But
across over the microphone.
clearly,
You know-
what comes with being an academic is booze.
Yeah.
And the
I
requirement
was
to
gonna
drink
say
it
boxing.
on a constant basis. Well, that's well. But we have cause to celebrate. Hooray! Everybody is free
Yay.
in
Minus
their own
you.
special
Ben's
ways.
Ben's just very good, killing it, as he always is.
Yeah.
With his drawings.
Drawings of
Buildings.
yes, buildings. So let's open some beers. I'm going to come first to you, Aadil. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a French beer.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
And it
fancy.
is the Ninkasi Blanche. It's a Biere de Ble.
Biere de Ble.
De Ble. 4.8%. It's won a World Beer Award in 2013. The Brussels Beer Challenge gold medalist.
Okay.
It has Galena and citrus hops and Pilsen and Ble. Malt. And it seems to be mildly acidic, mildly aromatic. I don't know what Duocio is or Amertuim, but it is mostly those as well. Sorry, it has information that I just can't translate.
Yep,
Yeah, I
that's
can't
fair.
see it.
Yeah.
I have a joint degree in French
Weed and
language.
beer.
Unfortunately,
Really?
yeah,
I didn't know you studied French.
neither do I. That's what it says on my degree, but
I
Well,
have no idea. I mean, so I believe it's an accent aigu, but it's so flat in this. Oh, you can't see. 'cause
No,
it's
not quite.
to
lighting.
be honest, even if I could
There
see
you
it,
go.
I probably have no idea what it means anyway.
Yeah, but it's really hard to tell. But I mean, that would be the sound.
Yeah.
So Biere de Ble,
Bleh.
Ble,
I like Blair.
Ble, and the Ble beer. So that is the pour. It's quite straw colored. Not surprising. It's quite carbonated.
Yeah, looks it.
Finger of head sticking around for a while. I can take give a taste, or we can do the usual loop around and loop around again.
Yeah, we'll loop. You let you study the nose a little bit, Lucy.
Yeah.
We'll come to you next because you've clearly just finished a bit. What did you just finish?
I had a beer called, I think it's Doorstep from Pressure Drop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I cracked that about an hour
Nice.
ago. Yeah, it's really nice, very juicy, very fruity. I think it's a New England IPA or just an IPA. Very nice. Ben, because I just
Yes.
thought I saw a glimmer of your can. Can you just tell me, without spoiling it maybe for the listeners, could you just tell me what the brewery
show
is,
on
just in
the-
case?
I mean, it's going to be my second beer because it's the
Yeah.
higher in percentage, but it's it's from Odyssey.
Okay, don't worry then. Right. Which beer should I drink first? I shall drink the one that sounds... Well, they're both interesting, both very
Okay.
nice styles. But maybe the one that doesn't have as much pep in its step compared to the other one in terms of flavour profile. I'm going to drink a beer from Crak. I love saying that. Their name. Yeah, Crak. I don't know how you say that in Italian, but it's Crak from Italy, and I believe it's a collaboration beer with Sleeping Village Brewing. It's called Midnight BBQ. Got some nice sausages
Nice.
on the can. And it's a spelt IPA, 7.5%.
Nice.
Let's have a look. It's all in... No, actually, it's a bit in English as well. The name of this beer is inspired by a true barbecue story with our friend Sleep from Sleeping Village. They don't go on to say what that story is, so I guess that'll remain a
That
mystery.
is interesting.
Maybe it's for only them to know. Yeah, it doesn't really have any flavour profile. Yeah, unfortunately it's in English because my Italian is very, very limited.
Like mine,
yeah.
just, I know. Prego. That's about it.
You can count to 10 in Italian, that's about it. But yeah, it's 400ml can. But yeah, Cracker, they've been making waves over here recently.
Oh yeah.
Every beer that I've had from them has been top notch. They're like very much a brewery to look out for at the moment.
Nice.
Yeah. What have you got whilst I crack this open?
Get that poured. Yeah. I am drinking. So, I wanted a few beers that I'd not had, or a few brewers that I'd not had before. And as it would happen when I went into the bottle shop, there were several to choose from. So this week I'm going to start with a beer from Yonder Brewing and Blending. Nice little
that's
fox
Very
on the
cool.
bottle. It is the... Why can I never remember what the name was? Is it Suki? Yeah, I think it's called Suki. It is 6%, and Suki demonstrates the beautiful taste of sumac, an often overlooked spice that is used in a lot of Moroccan dishes and is found in the UK. Planted in gardens as a decorative tree. On our mixed culture saison base, the citrus fruit shines a beacon, reminding us of the vibrant colours of autumn. So, I think it's a saison. Have you used the saison base? I would imagine it's a saison. There was maybe 4 or 5 beers from these guys in the bottle shop, and I know like when we've had previous new beers from breweries before, I'm like, I'll go with like an IPA. It's a good measure to test something. And I thought this time maybe I'd try something just different.
Yeah.
Not go for an IPA from these guys. But I've seen Yonder on quite a few like little social posts very recently, so I assume maybe they've just started distributing around to different people, and they've appeared suddenly over in Bristol.
I don't know if I've ever had a beer from them. Do they usually just do bottles, or
I don't know if they have done cans before, but the 4 beers that were in the bottle shop were all in bottles. All in what size are these? 375 ml bottle.
Right.
That's better to show you the size. Where are they from? Does it tell me? Oh, they're in Somerset. So only down the road from here. Vinegar. What a brilliant name.
Somerset only that. How far is Somerset from you guys then? Jesus, is that
I mean, like you drive out of Bristol to the south and you're in Somerset.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on where in Somerset they are. It's
True.
either like
Vinegar's quite close actually. I drive when I'm on my way to Weymouth. I drive very close. I might even drive through Vinegar or very, very close to it. It's got a Bath postcode BA3, so not too far away from sort of maybe just south of Keynsham, somewhere like that.
Just a stone throw away from you lot.
Yeah.
To be fair, like if we have any, listeners from overseas, especially in like America, where they think 100 miles is just like you can probably walk that in America, or it's like half of the country for us. So
yeah, I still have trouble
or in Canada,
where people when people say it's far away, what
yeah,
they really mean.
Because far away in Canada means there's at least 6,000 grizzly bears on the way. So,
It is true. That is a standard measurement.
Yeah. Follow the pine trees until they finish, and then you will be there.
Right.
Aadil, how is your beer?
The nose is quite light. It's got a bit of a citrus hit, and something else. It's a little almost sour on the nose as well. That's a very good beer. It's
good.
Yeah, like I said, it's got a little tartness. The finish is very sort of Belgian malty.
yeah.
It's yeah, it's sort of like a light ale leaning towards like a Belgian style ale. So it's got a little bit of that.
Did they say it was?
They didn't. They said it was a Biere de Ble.
Oh yes, yeah.
You had that some like Belgian yeast in it. Yeah.
That's sort of what. Yeah, it feels like a little bit like that. So it tastes like a nice solid Belgian ale, but it's a little lighter.
Like maybe a blonde ale or just a.
Yeah, I would say it's closer to a blonde ale. It's got a little more sort of bottom depth to it. And the Citra hops in it are giving it a nice sort of a twist, for lack of a better term. Yeah, it's a really very good beer. It's not. I sort of didn't know what to expect, and this is not a beer. It's a very unique beer in that, like I said, it's sitting sort of in between these styles. But it's playing that balance really well.
Good.
Yeah.
The French have done well.
A good start. Lucy, how's yours?
Yeah, it's also good. Yeah, immediately after pouring the can, it was, immediately like fresh fruit, like kind of aroma from it. I actually bought this from, I think I did buy this from Honest Brew. So it is pretty fresh. But yeah, those like tropical fruits, citrusy fruits, just immediately coming off the aroma. It's just the look of it. It's very, hazy. It looks like a juice bomb. Not much of a head.
Looks very from the camera. It looks very yellow. Looks very light.
Yeah, I'd say just a few shades darker than straw, but not too many. It's just basically yellow. But yeah, in terms of its taste, you are getting those fresh fruits as well. Like I haven't had many of Crack's beers. A lot of them have been like IPAs and double IPAs so far, so I haven't actually tasted any of their other kind of range and styles. But yeah, it's just going on with their same pedigree of having really juicy, really like crushable, really dank IPAs, and this is exactly the same. It's called a spelt IPA. I can't even tell any of these. A lot of it's in Italian, so spelt. There's got to be spelt in there, but I don't know how that differentiates itself from any of the other beers that I've tried from them. But yeah, it's just a juicy, dank IPA. There's not much more to say about it. It's very nice, don't get me wrong, but there's not really much more to say about it. If you've ever had a juicy IPA, then you know what I'm on about. But yeah, nothing more to it, but that's absolutely fine for me.
That's fair. Nice.
It's quite smooth. It's not very hoppy. Very easy drinking as well. So
good. So this Yonder is a bit of an odd one. I'm not sure sort of what I was expecting. Kind of guessing that it was running around sort of the saison kind of area. Really, they said they used a Moroccan or a spice that was used in Moroccan dishes. I think.
Yes, Dimash, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm getting a little bit of a very, very, very sort of light sort of spiciness off the nose, but it's almost maybe like a little kind of edging on sort of like banana-y, almost that kind of like banana
Estery
spicy kind of estery sort of side of things. Getting a little bit, tiny bit of fruit on there as well, not much, but as soon as you it's very strange because you've got this very sort of this very nice nose which kind of works with a few different flavors, but almost as soon as it kind of you open your mouth to it, you're getting something different, and as soon as it hits your lips, you just hit with this citrusy tartness that kind of builds, and it's so dry that like the beer is gone, but that tartness just kind of is elevated a little bit and is stuck around, and then the sort of the esteriness kind of just creeps back in very slightly as your mouth is drying out, and it's one of those where it's drying me out so much that I'm salivating to stop my almost instantly to stop my mouth from drying out, and I'm reaching for this beer very quickly, more because it is drying me out than to sort of experience the flavour again. I mean, that might change as I'm drinking it and my palate becomes a little bit more used to what I'm drinking, but it's so it's tart, almost edging on sort of a sharpness.
That sounds like a good ass saison to me.
Yeah.
It is, and it's. I mean, I left them in the garage. I haven't even refrigerated these beers because it's been a bit colder today, and the garage is only about 5 degrees. So it's kind of, I think maybe for what I'm getting, is it just the right temperature to kind of get that fullness, that full tartness from it, and a little bit sort of where it just kicks up just to that little bit of sharpness, and then just rides back out very slightly. But it's nice. I mean, on a really hot day, this would be really nice. Especially if you've been working in the garden or something, just to kick back with this. It edges very slightly on refreshing. I think because of that tartness, you think, oh, this is quite refreshing, and then that dryness kicks in.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, is it refreshing? I'll have another sip just to make sure that it is. Oh,
right.
Like, because it's so dry that I'm having another sip rather than it being sort of refreshing. But it's edging there, and I think this would be perfect on a sort of a hot mid-afternoon. I mean, it works well now in the evening as well, in the in what would usually be sort of the dead of winter, but is, you know, summer, the first summer of 2019.
Yeah.
So weird.
Climate change is a scary, scary thing. We won't talk about that now. But yeah, I'm enjoying this. Oh, mate, we're all going to die a horrible, horrible, fiery death at some point.
I will drown probably first.
Yeah.
That's not true. We will just move places.
We'll probably starve.
Move further north, mate, into the cold sort of Yorkshire Dales.
Oh no, I mean, if
here we go.
Like they're supposed to, the UK is not going to really be much more.
We'll just sink into the ocean.
Even in the inland parts, y'all are going to go to the center of Europe or the center of North America or the center of Asia.
I'm going to stay right here.
But it'll be slow enough that we won't drown. But we're all going to have to move.
It's slow enough that we could just walk in front of the very slow inward tide that's just creeping up behind us, yes. Yeah, all the steam rising off of the sea as the temperature continues to go up. Anyway,
the Highlands might become beachfront property. You might luck out that way.
Birmingham will be the cockroach of the UK. It'll just survive no matter what. No matter
all
what.
Those canals will flood, but people will just live in like the top 10 stories of all the tower blocks and stuff. Like,
We'll be in a barge. Fine.
So we're going to enjoy these beers, and I'm going to very swiftly segue into another post-apocalyptic scenario, and I'm actually going to talk this week about Metro Exodus, because
you see, I was like, is it Metro or the Division? It's like too many post-apocalyptic games,
mate. You should. What was it 2 weeks ago when we talked about post-apocalyptic games running their course? Anyway, Metro Exodus, post-apocalyptic games maybe haven't quite run their course. I'm really enjoying it. I finished my first run through and I instantly started again.
Wow. I don't think I've ever done that with a game.
There's a few reasons why I've done that. And they kind of lean towards the better parts of the game. There are some issues that I have with Metro Exodus which make it maybe not quite work as well as, say, like the previous Metro game did. But a couple of things that they've changed which kind of make it work a little bit better. So it's almost a mixed bag of how I feel about this game. So Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light were very contained spaces, linear first-person shooter games, corridor-heavy spaces, which could be approached in a few different ways, sort of like stealthily or full-on action. There were multiple paths to things. Metro Exodus mixes it up because you have these open areas that you can kind of explore, that you need to move around to be able to achieve what you need to do to move on to the next area. You know, it's not a full open world. It's
kind of like MMOs and zones.
Almost, yeah. But they're linear zones. You can't move back and forth between them. You know, you hit a critical point in the story, you do the mission, and you move on to the next one. One of the best things about this is that it mixes those open zones with more linear story-driven corridors very well. So, whilst you're experiencing, say, winter in one area, you then experience spring in a different area, which is very much a linear space. It's not an open world space. You then experience summer in an open world area. Autumn is then kind of a hybrid. It's a little bit of an open world. It's a little bit of a linear sort of path through, and then finally back into winter, which is very much just that linear sort of drive.
So it's Forza Horizon 4. Is that what you're saying? Except with trains.
And set in Russia. Yeah, almost. Yeah. It kind of, it's sort of, I mean, I've just been playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, and it reminds me very much of how that game is structured.
Just the way you were describing it, I was just like,
it's
like
kind of, it's a bit more expansive, but then a little bit more contained than
like the linear spots are more linear and the wider spots are more open.
Yes, exactly that, exactly. And there, you've only got one. I mean, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 different areas, maybe 6. Okay. So there's not that much difference in kind of or there's not that many environments to explore. They're very varied in what you're getting, and I think that's very much helped by that time frame moving on.
Right.
You're moving on across 6, so suddenly you're in like you're in frozen Moscow to begin with. You then move to the Volga, which is all sort of very wintry, but maybe not quite as ice locked as sort of Moscow is. It's a little bit more open than that. You then go for spring. They've made you go into this indoor section, which I think maybe could have been done a little bit better, because you're it's fine. One of the best things about Metro games have been that underground claustrophobic experience, and this is that spring section is the best example in this game of that. But the difference from going from a big open world into that is very dramatic. So kind of it's doing those two things, and there's good points about that, and there's sort of bad points about that. It works really well in some parts, but actually then doesn't work when going from massive open world or massive area into very tight linear corridors. Maybe doesn't work quite as well as it did for Rise of the Tomb Raider, perhaps. I'm not sure. Lucy, have you played Shadow of the Tomb Raider yet?
Yeah.
Does that continue that kind of map sort of? And
yeah. There's definitely like some hub areas.
Yeah.
And then I'd say that because Rise of the Tomb Raider, because I got a lot of collectibles in that, I found it very hard to go from one area to another, like backtrack and stuff like that, and that was probably the biggest bugbear of the game. Shadow, I think there's fewer areas,
okay,
and I think it's slightly easier to backtrack. But yeah, it still it has those kind of hub areas, and it goes from we're going to have a set piece or cutscene, and then move to the next one. But yeah, it carries on that traditional formula.
Yeah, nice. I think that might be my next sort of my next pick, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Try and pick that up, because I was
going to say it's on Game Pass.
Yeah. Not
You're our sole Xbox representation now, Lucy.
Yeah.
Although I am still being harassed by email. Microsoft sent me an email a couple of days ago, maybe. Hey, we really value you as an Xbox ambassador. I'm like, aha, I'm an Xbox ambassador, right? Yeah. I don't own the fucking thing.
I think it's going down the line, if Xbox do start offering Game Pass on other
services,
on other platforms. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, then that's a really exciting prospect. But even if you could just pick up an Xbox for £100, the amount of games that you're getting just with the Game Pass, it's kind of nuts. But yeah, because when I saw Shadow on there, I don't think the game sold that well, just like Rise, which is really upsetting, because those are phenomenal games. But they just come out at the wrong times, don't they?
Yeah.
A week after Spider-Man Shadow came out, and then Rise came out the same day as Fallout 4. In every single way a better game.
The base as well with Rise was I think a bit of a mistake as well.
Yeah, that was never gonna. Especially with Xbox, that it really hadn't sold much back then. But yeah, it's a shame. But yeah, Game Pass is a really exciting prospect. So yeah, that would have been the best way to experience it, Ben. But yeah, it's going to be on sale, because it didn't sell well. Unfortunately, it's going to be on sale for a fraction of the price soon enough. I think a couple of weeks after it actually came out, it dropped heavily in price, and people were, because people are assholes, they were review bombing the game. It's like, why? I don't get it. It's like, I was not upset at all, because I bought it day one because I really believe in that franchise, and it switched to Eidos, but it's like I really believed in that kind of formula and what Square were doing with that franchise. So it's like, I had no qualms about buying it day one and paying full price for it, because even though I hadn't played it by the time it went on sale 2 weeks later, it's like, cool, whatever, take all my money. Like IO, they can have all my money, I don't care. but people just see it as like, it's like if you played it and enjoyed it, why would you ever feel, spurned by paying for it full price? But
Completely, yeah.
I digress. I'm going on a tangent. Metro, yeah.
So,
Metro.
I mean, it does a lot of things that as Tomb Raider as being my sort of my closest sort of touchstone to this at the moment. Metro really nails atmosphere and the narrative pull of that story. It doesn't allow you, even though you have these open areas and you have several things to do, everything kind of ties in to the story. So it's like, hey, you need to go over here. This is what our main objective is. To do that, we've got to go over here. But on your way, there's a couple of things you could do. And you're like, okay, brilliant. Yeah, I'll do that. And I think the way that I played it at first was to play it very, in these open areas at least, play them very quickly and do the story sort of bits without much exploration. So I've seen people post screenshots, even of the first area, and I'm like, I never saw that. Yeah. That's I probably didn't even go down to that little bit. I didn't really do any of the collectibles. There's a few sort of documents and things to give you a little bit more exposition about the world and kind of what's been going on whilst everyone else has been trapped in the metro in Moscow. So there's a lot of kind of interesting stuff that I want to read and get back into and explore, which is maybe the main thrust for me jumping back into this. But there's also through that narrative it's not a choice-based system, but your actions can have certain consequences. So in several of these missions, if you do them in a certain way, it can be the deciding factor with whether one of your members of your like elite group stay with you or not. I know a couple of them.
Wolfenstein, sort of like that.
So it kind of, I played it through, and I didn't know this at the time, but I managed to on my first playthrough, I managed to keep everyone and have what's people are calling like the happy ending. So I want to see what happens if I'm a dickhead. So in my first game, I was knocking people out rather than killing them and trying to play it a little bit more stealthy. This time, I'm just gunning people down.
Even when they surrender.
Exactly, even when they surrender. So when they surrender, and I love it, when they surrender and you shoot them, suddenly you get this slight cue which just goes, boom. You're like, oh, I've been naughty. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I want to see what that narrative difference is, especially if I've gone through an area and one of my members doesn't come with us, they then obviously don't feature in any of the scenes or anything moving on. And it'd be good to see how they've changed, how the developer 4A Games have changed up, not including that character. Or if I maybe just didn't notice that character didn't play much of a role past that mission. They were just kind of in the background of scenes, and now they're not in the background of scenes, rather than being kind of integral to sort of, the narrative and the way we move forward and how they've been able to kind of address that. So I think that's why I've kind of, the main two reasons I've jumped back in.
Yeah. So do you have enough, with the ending, were you satisfied enough and, had enough confidence in like the writing and the overall narrative to believe that these changes, playing as the bad guy going in your second playthrough, are going to have a big enough change and difference? It's not just going to be surface level. And
I think it's going to be, without trying to spoil it, there's something that happens right at the end of the game where each of those characters kind of comes into play a little bit. Yeah. And if suddenly, out of 6 of them, 3 of them aren't there, that's going to make a difference to kind of like the final outcome, which you don't have an effect over. It is just then kicks into kind of like cutscenes for the ending. So I think it's maybe just it's just going to be like a different ending, perhaps, rather than say like halfway through the game it's going to make things harder. I think essentially it is just the ending that's going to change, but I want to see what that change is, because I can very much see from the good ending. I want to know what happens next. So I want the next game. I want to experience kind of what happens after they get to their, or they get to a destination and stop the story. I want to know what's going on next, and I wonder whether when the bad ending happens, whether I would still have that same pull as well, whether I would think, oh, actually in this, in like the dark timeline, whether I would want to continue on with this story or not. So it's got enough pull in its narrative, it's got enough pull in the atmosphere and the gameplay and kind of what I'm doing and in an exploration mode to want me to jump straight back in. It helps that it's not actually that long of a game.
I was going to say, how long-ish?
I have no idea, really. Maybe I'd say 16 to 20 hours.
That's long.
Like that.
I'm thinking Call of Duty is like 5 hours.
Yeah, it's not quite that short. Maybe it's closer to. Maybe I did it in 14, something like that. But
that's still long.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like
for a
AAA
narrative game. That's probably not that long, Compare it to
sadly,
Fallout 4,
yes, but
compare it to Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is probably a similar sort of pace, similar sort of time, maybe.
It's just with like, if you're saying that it's like mostly going to be focused on that ending, where the difference is going to be, it's not necessarily tied, interwoven into the narrative along the way. Like, I don't know, like The Walking Dead or even as Wolfenstein, the example I gave before, like Ferguson, can't remember the other dude's name, but like you have different cutscenes throughout the narrative. You have different, dialogue. It's substantially different. If it was just the ending, do you not feel inclined just to watch it on YouTube? Or
so I did think that, yeah. I think I think it's the other parts of this game as well that have kind of made me make that decision to jump back in. And go, actually, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed what I was playing. I didn't. I could have taken maybe slightly more constrained open areas over as I say, when I played through it, I didn't explore them to their sort of like their fullest extent. Whilst I'm currently only in the first open area on my second playthrough, and I'm hitting like little safe houses that I hadn't been before, bandit camps that I hadn't sort of been to before and stuff. So I'm kind of exploring and I'm experiencing things that I didn't get to see on the first run. And that's kind of maybe more the pull for me to explore the world, and again to get some of these collectibles and to get a little bit more exposition to know kind of what's been kind of going on in the background. I think it's one that we've got. Like Ape Out came out today. The new Toe Jam and Earl game came out today.
I just found that out.
A
while ago, but like earlier today, I was like, wait, there's a Toe Jam and Earl game?
Yeah.
How have I missed this out?
I know.
All right. Question, Ben. So we haven't talked about the monsters so much. Does like the fauna change, like depending on like the seasons and where you are in the world? Is there different animals? Like
there are. Places? It does, yeah. So in the first sort of map, you're mainly concerned with like four-legged, like almost like larger dog-like creatures.
Yeah, those guys.
I think, like at some other point, I think it's sort of in the last mission. There's like mole people that appear that turn up. Some mole people. There are some absolutely terrifying, like twice the size of normal gorillas, but they're blind, and any noise you make, they track in on and follow you. One of the autumn mission. You don't get many mutated creatures. That is mostly humans that you're sort of coming up against, and that's the autumn mission is where the bear comes into play. That you sort of see in a lot of the it was in a lot of the promo sort of trailers and stuff. So there are a few animals in that section as well, but it's not quite as heavily populated with sort of the mutants. You go into the first open world area, and one of the first things someone says to you is, "Hey, if you want to do this at the daytime, there's a lot more bandits about and they patrol the area. If you do it at night, they're back in their bases and their camps resting, and there's a lot more mutants that come out at night." So there's a little bit of a difference there, which I think maybe didn't translate as well in the later levels, perhaps. That maybe that level and the summer level were the two where maybe the day-night difference was a bigger change in how you kind of maybe were able to approach things and what you encountered in the map, sort of thing. So there's enough difference in the monsters, but I think maybe it's more the human element. And even the previous games, it was very much the human element, even though there were mutants and things. It was very much the human element that you were kind of coming up against a lot of the time.
I'm glad Metro's back. I tried getting into it. I don't know what it is. A lot of appreciation for it, but I just couldn't get into it myself. But
it's dark and it's glum.
Yeah, it is
just a bit sort of dire. You've got to. It's not something you want to play if you're. It's released in what's meant to be kind of like the winter, when it's dark evenings and it's a bit more miserable and stuff. And actually, it's I like a game to kind of mimic what's going on outside and the sort of the season that I'm in. But I think if you're not in the right frame of mind for this game, it can very easily turn you off.
It's very oppressive. But yeah, I mean, like a lot of the conversation, especially on the 15th and leading up to the 15th, was like Anthem. So you haven't really heard much about Metro. I think it got fairly decent reviews, but hopefully people are just, the Metro fans are just, they all bought it, they all played it. Hopefully it sold well and they get to make more, because it's a special series, not one that I had much affinity to, but I'm glad it's back, especially after the really sour previews on it. I was like a bit worried for the dev, but
I was the same. But then I read a couple of reviews before picking it up and was was pleasantly surprised by what I was reading, which was great. I mean, it's edging on a. I want the next Metro game as much as I want the next like Spec Ops: The Line game. I don't think maybe Metro Exodus is as tentpole as Spec Ops: The Line. That is a very prescient.
I'd say they're both
big sort
on
of
the
game,
same level of people like them, and that's it.
I would imagine so. Yeah, yes, I agree. I think Spec Ops: The Line is very special. Metro Exodus is great. It's good, and it's a game that I have enjoyed, which does something maybe a little bit more than, say, its most closest comparison, which would be something like Fallout 4. I think for me, it's a much better game than that.
But everything is. Honestly.
But I don't think maybe it's, I think given a little bit more, I mean, they've had a lot of time to make this game, but given some more space, I think they could take it again. There's another step to Metro to elevate it just that little bit more, to make it something very special.
Let's hope they keep going.
Good. So that's Metro Exodus. Are you guys ready for another beer, or have we got another topic?
Slow down there.
Mate, to be fair, I'm not drinking this. It's super dry, but I'm not drinking this anywhere near as quickly as I thought I was.
Deal's done.
Yeah,
Deal's
ready.
done.
I'm done.
This is going to be like a free beer podcast.
Have no
The way this is going. No topic? Alright, I'll just usurp Aadil and just take over his.
I'm fine. I'm fine with I was like, I'm fine with both not having a topic and waiting for my next beer if you guys aren't ready.
Aadil's chilling. I think Aadil should crack his open now. But let's
crack yours open.
Crack open.
It is the juicy pale ale from Points Brewing.
Ooh.
JUPA.
Points JUPA. It is a juicy pale ale with bold, refreshing flavors of pineapple and mango, 5.5%. A juicy pale ale with U.S. hops for tropical fruit flavors, weed notes for a full body, and low bitterness for a refreshing taste. And they remind us that they're a London living wage employer.
Oh. Well, that's good.
Yes.
Don't know
They
why they need to tell us.
also tell us that they have water, malted barley, rolled oats, malted wheat, hops, and yeast, but don't tell us anything else except that the hops are U.S.
Okay.
Fair enough.
They maybe should have. Maybe they should have taken that. We're a London living wage retail space on their can and put some more information on what they've actually used to brew the beer. But I imagine someone only buys beers from breweries that do that.
No, I think if you go to a place that buys that like a proper bottle shop, and you're like, I don't know, that could sway you. Like, you know the
that's what
caliber
I'm
of
saying.
what the
Yeah,
bottle shop picks up.
yeah. I don't know whether that's a huge amount of people.
It
Anyone who
should
can
be.
afford to live in London,
I agree.
It's very impressive. So it's like you already have too much money. Give my money to a poor brewery.
I'm quite happy with people trying to pay living wages in crazy places.
London is.
I think everyone should pay a living wage. I think it's
absurd
that we don't.
Bizarre misinterpretation of the basics, like tenets of capitalism, that they think this isn't an important thing. But that is definitely
a topic for another day.
Yeah.
Probably not for this show either.
I was going to say, wait, I don't have a topic. So let me just... No, I really don't want to talk about that.
I'll just press leave call right now.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. The nose is actually much more malty than I would have expected for like a thing that's literally calling itself a juicy pale ale. Like I get a little bit of that tropical fruit, but I'm also getting like that a little bit of like almost a slight roasted malt note. Not a strong one, but a slight one. Which again, I think is why I was like, whoa, what, malts? I was expecting like it smelling like squash or something, right?
Yeah, I find with some like breweries, when they say, oh, we're going to go for like a US style IPA or pale ale, they pack in the malts and it just ends up like quite earthy and peaty, which sometimes is very nice and very you don't usually get that with a lot of like, especially like styles like New England IPA and stuff like that. But sometimes it goes all the other way. It's like, where are the hops, where's the fruit, where's the citrus?
Yeah, like if you're going to call this a US or New England, especially when you like put yourself in New England, like when you narrow it down, you're saying, I'm doing the style of beer that this area is known for. And then you're like, but I'm not really. Like I've used the same ingredients, but I'm just going to ignore the taste profile. Something's gone awry. And by that I mean, why are you using rye? That's more Canadian.
But yeah, even the color, it looks quite dark,
Yeah, it's like more honey golden than like straw.
Yeah.
I'm also getting that wheat quite strongly. Like, so there are notes of I don't quite. So I get a little bit of the pineapple, the generic tropical fruit, but I'm also getting this very quite forward malty oomph. Like it's just not what I expected. Like it's just not what's written. It's like a malty beer that has these juicy tropically pineapple notes to it, but like the first thing that comes is this like very oomphy, not roasted, but like malt forward.
Yeah
I
know what you mean. I find that a lot with some beers where they're like, oh yeah, we're shooting for the moon, and it's like, no, actually you just packed a ton of malt in it, and maybe to overshadow like the lack of hops, like the lack of hop variety in it. Doesn't mean it's a bad tasting beer, it's just not what you expected when you read the style.
I think I'll take some time to get used to this because it's just totally not what I thought was on the tin. And then so that I give it a fair shake.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So,
good approach.
Lucy, you had a topic or two. Start with topic 2.
No, I was just really going to talk about the games I've been playing, to be honest, because Ben mentioned Ape Out. I actually finished that today.
Wow! Only released today, Lucy.
I think she's had it for.
I think that's yesterday.
Oh, was it yesterday?
Yeah, but I only actually played it today, so fair enough. Yeah, but it released 28th of February, which was yesterday.
Okay. That is the date I will remember.
Yes,
you will. 12:36. And I taught at 1.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure you don't remember the evening, though.
It was I had
Was it a light
I
evening?
taught until 2, and then sat around for like 45 minutes. I went to the pub until around 7:30, then went home and was like,
Okay.
you know what's great? Bed.
Yes. Sounds like a good day to me.
Yeah.
Sleeping forever.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll start with Ape Out then. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a game published by Devolver Digital.
Oh, I like that publisher.
Yeah, we all do on this podcast.
Yeah.
For good reason.
We're big fans of the Double D.
Big proponent of them. Fantastic games, but just heard what you said then. It's like, all right. Yeah, it's made by 3 different developers. I think. Oh gosh, I think Matt Bosch, Bennett Foddy, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Gabe or something.
Newell?
No, yes, Gabe Newell made this game. He was getting sick of that Steam money. He was like, maybe I should make a game now, and then decided on Ape Out. But yeah, it's a top-down Hotline Miami-esque arcadey kind of smash 'em up. I'll call it a smash 'em up. Basically, you're a ape, a gorilla. Maybe it's an orangutan because it's orange. I don't know. Some kind of primate that has escaped from various facilities. And basically, you're just, wrecking the place. You are just killing all these soldiers, all these guards. It's a very simple, concept. It's very simple mechanics. I played it on Nintendo Switch. You basically just use, analog sticks to move around, or the fake-ass D-pad if you want. And you have ZL to grab people, and ZR to throw them into a wall, throw them into another person, throw them into an explosive, throw them into a explosive barrel or something. A thing, yeah. So it's basically you're going from left to right, from a top-down perspective, and you're just having to, sometimes right to left, but anyway, and you're just basically having to get to the end of the level to escape. Your main goal is to escape this facility. I'm not going to go too much depth into the kind of different levels, because I think those are best experience, if you don't know them and stuff like that. But it does change up the kind of environments that you're in. But yeah, it's a very stylish game. It's has this very muted color palette, and it's yeah. And then when you're throwing enemies into walls and stuff like that, it's like you have these red splotches of blood. It looks like a Jackson Pollock paint at the end of it. It's like, and yeah, it's very Hotline Miami-esque, where it's like you're going on these runs, and you just, whoever you see, you have to kill them, because otherwise, if they get a shot off on you, I think you can take about 3, maybe 4 shots from these soldiers, and then if you die, you're starting back from the start of the level, or from the last checkpoint. The only thing where it's not like Hotline Miami, from what I can remember, Hotline Miami isn't procedurally generated, is it?
No.
It's set. No, it's not at all, is it?
Yeah, the premise is it's well designed, and it'll take you a bunch of tries per.
Yeah. This is much less, rinse and repeat, like you're dying constantly. You do get on runs, and it's like, more often than not, you can go through a run without dying, because you've got enough time to grab soldiers, throw them into each other. It's not so dependent on split second decisions and twitch reactions. You do have time to adapt to your surroundings in Ape Out, but because it's procedurally generated, sometimes that can lead to a bit of frustration in terms of enemy placement. Sometimes there can be a cluster of enemies, and it's like you're not really expecting it, because you can just get shot and just killed instantly in those occasions. And it's like, sometimes when I was leaving, starting out from the level, and there's an enemy right there, and I'm in a choke point, and they just gunning me down straight away. That's a bit frustrating, but it is very, quick to reload and quick to get you back to where you were. So it's not a major, negative against the game. But yeah, in terms of its style, its music, it's very
the music's one of the things that drew me to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very dynamic in how it tunes to your gameplay. So it's like when you start smashing people against the wall, they have like these cymbals clapping and everything like that. It's like this weird jazzy kind of some child at a drum set with cymbals and just smashing other things all over the place. It's weird. It's weird, but it's very good. Yeah, so that's just tailors to the experience and the gameplay really well. But yeah, and just the whole package, like the whole, stylized package, and even the font and like the way, like, the titles of the level titles come up and appear against, the screen and everything like that. It's just a very well made, well put together, well balanced experience. It's a very simple mechanic. Throughout the whole game, you're only using 2 buttons really, and it starts adding in new enemy varieties and stuff like that. But even that doesn't change so much. Again, I don't want to get into more specifics; that'll spoil it. But
how long did it take you? Oh, sorry.
How long did it take me? Overall, there's
finished it, right?
Yeah, there's four discs, because it's very music based. As Ben said, that's the drawing thing, the whole music element to it. There's 4 discs with the A side and B side. There's 8 levels to each side.
Okay. So
they took me about half an hour each. So it's a very short game, and there's like a bonus level.
Wait, when you say each, do you mean each side or each disc?
Each disc. So
okay, so like 15 minutes aside.
I think about 20 to 20 minutes to half an hour, and also depending on how many times you die as well.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I was just like, what, screw this, I'm just going to run past all you enemies before you shoot me. I wasn't killing everybody on every level.
Right.
If you want to do that, you can. But, I'm a wussy gorilla and just run past everyone sometimes.
Sometimes it's the only way.
It is. There's also a harder mode.
It's not the only way, but it's still the best mode.
Yeah. There is a harder mode.
Okay.
I started playing the harder mode just to give my impressions on the podcast. I think I only played a few levels, but I think it's more enemies on the screen. It's like they throw more enemies at you, because I don't think it's like, they shoot faster, or they're more aware, or the AI's better. Like sometimes you can lure them around a corner and blindside them and then throw them into a wall.
Right. But so it's the old school harder equals.
Yeah, just more enemies on the screen, and that usually meant, back in the old day, screen slowdown.
Yeah.
Not in this game, but yeah. And there's an arcade mode, which is just getting higher score in, like, you have a ticking clock that just counts down. The quicker you get to, like, different transitions, different levels, the clock adds up, etc. And your score's based on how many people you killed and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a nice little package. I'm glad it didn't last too long, because even though it only has basically one central mechanic, I think they did all that they could do with that in terms of, like, innovating and changing, like, the environments and stuff like that. So if it got on any longer, it might start, getting a bit long in the tooth, especially some of the later levels where it's like, okay, we're just extending the length of the level, and not really giving any checkpoints in between. Right. It's like, okay, this is more of an endurance run. How long can you last? And it's like, if they had had several more of those kinds of levels, I probably would have got a bit frustrated with it. So it ended at a good point.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah. It's a good game. Very good.
Good
reviews.
I'm looking forward to picking it up. I'm not going to pick it up for a little while. I've got a lot of work on, and I want to make sure I don't have, any distractions really to pull me away from that. So I think I might wait till maybe next weekend, something like that, to pick it up perhaps. But I mean, from what I've seen and kind of like the overall impressions that sort of most people are giving, it sounds kind of what at least what's been sort of like advertised, and because I played that playable trailer.
Oh yeah.
It does just seem like the playable trailer was a very good slice of what this game is, and obviously a bit different because that cut between certain scenes and certain levels, and it placed you in, and even if you died it took you to the next one, and it kept very much up with the music. So as soon as those 4 bars of music had gone, it snapped you to the next kind of level or something like that. So as a package, I can see it being like super tight.
Yeah, it is,
so
absolutely.
I'm really
completely
excited to play it, but I've kind of just got to be like, no, just wait.
Yeah, it's just one of those where it's like it doesn't last long, but it's like you enjoy every single second of that experience, and it's like, that's hard to find nowadays. Like, just most games are just too long and bloated, and they may be very good. Like, it's like Red Dead, amazing game, but it could have been 30 hours shorter.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes. So, Ape Out, fantastic. Are you ready for another beer, Lucy? I'm certain I've managed to polish mine off.
Last mouthful of this, so yeah, go for it.
Good. So, I'm going to be drinking from Odyssey Brewing Company. Show Me a Hero. It's an IPA. It's 7%. Comes in a 440ml can. These guys are from Brockhampton. Don't know where that is.
Where the hell is that?
WR postcode.
That's not a real place.
Worcester WR. I don't know where they're from.
That's not a real place.
It's got some dates on it, which are printed quite poorly. I have no idea what they say. It has got some info on it. The hops kettle Citra, hops biotransformation Citra, hops post fermentation Citra. Drink fresh. Serving temperature 8 to 10 degrees. It says it's got some allergens, which is all cereals, barley, oats, wheat, and spelt. No flavour text about what we're going to be experiencing. Nice can though. I'm assuming it's going to be like metal as fuck with Odyssey, the way they've written their name there. So I'm going to crack that open, Lucy. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a beer from Wonder Beyond Brewing.
Ooh, nice.
Who are from an actual place, not a fictional place. They're from Manchester brewer. This is called Tiki's Turtles. It's a Tiki milkshake IPA with pineapple, coconut, lime, and mint. 7.4% ABV, 440ml can, no flavour text. It's vegetarian friendly. Wonder Beyond. They came up in the scene probably about a year ago.
Yeah, it was definitely sometime last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, when their cans came out, and it was like they came out just firing. I think they had like 12% Imperial Stout or 13% Imperial Stout or something like that, like strawberry Imperial Stout. I can't remember, but yeah, like every single beer that I've had from these been delicious. But
yeah, they're really good.
Few and far between, to be honest, which is a shame. But see what this is like.
I think last year maybe I'd only seen. I think I'd only had maybe two beers from them, but perhaps only seen maybe 3 or 4. And I noticed maybe the last month or so they've come out with maybe another 4 or 5.
Yeah, they're
which have all been
yeah.
a little bit more. I don't really want to use the word sort of like experimentational, but they're all kind of slightly more flavoured, or it's like a milkshake IPA rather than an IPA.
Yeah.
Or they've used coconut in there, or and something. They've obviously decided to maybe just play a little bit with kind of like what they're putting out.
Yeah, I mean, just cracking over the can, like so much lime in my face. Like,
yeah,
it's like smelling a mojito. Like bit salty, a lot of lime. Getting a slight creaminess from the coconut in the aroma as well.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I'm picking up the pineapple as well, and the mint. So what they've said on the can, you definitely get in the aroma. I'll see if I can get it in the flavour as well. But yeah, sounds interesting.
Nice. So this Odyssey, Show Me a Hero, smells very, fruity. It smells like an almost double IPA. We're kind of edging on that juicy IPA territory here. Super hazy. A little. It's maybe a little darker than it's kind of appearing on the screen to the two of you under the spotlight. But it's got that slightly orange hue to it. It doesn't. I'm not getting a huge amount more from the nose than just a hazy, juicy, tropical, fruity kind of IPA really. And it's a mix of fruit. There's not a huge amount that I can kind of individually pick out either. I know it said it's got a lot of citrus in it, but even that, it's sort of, don't know. I'll come back to it on the flavour. We'll come back to you, Lucy.
Yeah.
We'll go back and forth.
Okay. Yeah, I don't like mint in anything. It should only be in toothpaste.
Really?
Yeah, wow. I can't stand mint. Can't stand mint in my lamb, in my chocolate, or in anything. Get it out of there. But yeah, you can taste the mint on this. For me, it is I wouldn't say it's overpowering. It's a dominant flavour for me, the mint. But even still, I am picking up the lime. The coconut maybe more in the body. Because it is meant to be a milkshake beer.
Yeah.
Might swirl it around, see if there's any sediment or anything at the bottom. Getting a bit more of the flavours, but yeah, as what it says on the tin, I can't fault it. It's just that for me, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know if it's not a bad tasting beer. I just think it's it's not something I want. Maybe it's coming off the crack beer where it's yeah, this knows what it is. It's a juicy IPA and that's it.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't have much to say about it, because it knew what it was doing. Whereas this feels more like a conversation piece, like a talking point. It's look at all these crazy flavours going on, but when you actually sit down and drink it, it's okay, this was a wild ride, but let me just get back to something I'm used to and something that I know and want.
It's one of those where they've gone, here's what we can do, and you realise that they can implement all of those flavours sort of quite well and showcase them.
Yeah.
And bring kind of everything forward. It's a very well made sort of beer, but it's not to everyone's taste, perhaps. Yeah,
I wouldn't be oh yeah, I feel like a beer, I'm going to have something that's got pineapple, coconut, lime and mint in it, Yeah. It tastes very much like a mojito.
Yeah.
And I'm not a massive fan of cocktails anyway, but yeah, it's a weird and wonderful creation, but it's probably not what I'm in the mood for right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good tasting beer. There's nothing wrong with it. Just in terms of the milkshake, I wouldn't say it's got that creaminess, that smoothness to it that I'd expect. I think when you're making a milkshake IPA, making a milkshake Imperial Stout is probably 10 times easier because you got that creaminess, that heaviness to it. In terms of an IPA, I don't know, is it meant to get that sweetness across? Is it meant to get that mouthfeel across? Is it meant to have that stick on your teeth kind of it stays there? I don't know. I don't know what makes it quite a milkshake IPA in this, because it's quite light bodied. It's not thin, but it's not thick either.
Thick, yeah. Aadil, was it last week or the week before you had a milkshake IPA?
2 weeks ago.
Because I think we had a similar sort of thought about it, kind of and I seem to remember it was a little bit. Was it one of the Korean beers that you'd had?
Yeah.
Yes, maybe a little bit thicker, perhaps, and it kind of maybe it was the the combination of it being a little bit more creamy which maybe sort of led it towards being a milkshake IPA than maybe anything else.
Yeah, because just looked on Untappd. Wonder Beyond have a beer called Elysium. I think that's how you say it. 10% milkshake IPA, and I really like that.
Yeah.
So.
I suppose it's an interesting one because you wouldn't necessarily associate like the flavors of a mojito to come with a slightly thicker, like oatier sort of body to it. You're kind of expecting something maybe a little bit more light, a little bit watery, perhaps, with those associated with those flavors. So it's interesting that they've kind of combined the two. Again, it's them, I guess it is experimentation, or it is them playing with what they can kind of do with the beer. So
yeah, because I have a few milkshake beers, but don't know what this makes it a milkshake one. I think if it was just an IPA and they put all this stuff in, it was like, yeah, that probably better represents what this beer is. But yeah, I mean, not much more to say. It's very strange.
Fair enough.
But it does what it says on the tin. So if you like what it says on the tin, go for it.
That's good. I'm gonna have to describe this one from Odyssey because it doesn't tell you anything on the tin, really. I'm enjoying it. It does have those slightly higher ABV, almost double IPA kind of notes to it. It does have that slightly tropical fruit flavour coming through, which is maybe backed up by some stone fruits. It's got a little bit of bitterness to it, very light, that runs through. But it kind of, everything kind of, you hit a little bit of a flavour, and then it kind of just like levels out, and you're just left with this very, very middling, very almost light kind of bitterness with that lasting, maybe slightly peachy kind of flavour to it. So it's almost like it's trying to kick off, be a big flavour, sort of, and it loses a little bit perhaps. I don't know whether it's, they wanted that big flavour to kind of stay around for a little bit, but it mellows out quite quickly.
Okay.
And the big flavour isn't quite a big flavour. So it's almost like it's kind of, it's not hitting those highs and it's not dipping towards those lows. It's very, very middling in kind of what I'm getting. The ABV doesn't really come through. There's a very slight hint of sweetness to it, but not much, and it's pulled back by that bitterness quite quickly. When that sweetness sort of starts to edge in and you think it's going to get sweeter, it just sort of stops and levels out very quickly. And I think that's maybe the bitterness just dragging it back down again. It's very kind of easy. Again, a little bit dry. Maybe not. It's nowhere near as dry as the Yonder, whatever that was, the Suki. Nowhere near as dry as that. But it's kind of, it's dry for an IPA. But it's it's just a very, I don't want to say simple, but it's a very easy drinking. I was going to say simple, but I don't want to say the word simple. It's just a, and it's not standard either, but it's functional. If you want a kind of a very middling, very easy drinking IPA, this is a great beer to reach for. I think it's a very nice example of an IPA that doesn't need to do much more, and I don't think it's very difficult to kind of suggest that it's not doing much more, or that it's maybe not hitting what they wanted to do with it, because this might be exactly what they wanted to do with it. But it's so kind of so middling that I kind of can't quite get my head around it. If you know what I mean. It's kind of was this meant to be more, or is this just a good standard sort of beer?
Is it life, or is this just a fantasy? Dale, do you have any second thoughts on your very malty beer? Or same?
No, I mean it's still, the malts are there in the finish, and they're still and prevalent throughout. With a little more acclimatization. I'm getting more of those tropical fruit notes throughout, but it's still very much a malt forward beer.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, I like it. It's interesting. Yeah, but my tasting notes haven't changed, and I still think it's tasty. But I do think now that I'm less surprised, I can appreciate sort of the dynamic balance between the two.
Fair enough.
Nice, nice. So that's all of our second beers now. So Lucy, have you did you have another game that you've played?
Yeah.
Ooh. You're not just spent your time on Ape Out.
No, I played a few mobile games. One I'll quickly touch on.
Yeah.
It's called Supertype. It's on iOS. Don't know if it's on Android. Probably isn't, because that's the way things go. But yeah, it's a puzzle game where it's basically a physics-based puzzle game where you are using all the different letters of the alphabet. You have a keyboard and you can type different letters of the alphabet, and basically it's taking the physics of these, what do you call Latin-based alphabet, and it's basically you have to hit like 2 little squares each level, or 1 square each level or something. So as an example, okay, you have a slope at a 45-degree angle. The little dot that you have to hit is at the end of the slope, so you have to put a letter which will adapt to the physics of that level to then hit that little square at the bottom. So in this example, you put the letter O because it's a wheel, and a wheel will slide to the bottom of the slope.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. So that's an example. Another example is, okay, you have a flat surface. The square is at the end of the level. What letters do you put there? Oh, you want an O because it will eventually roll to that, but it's a flat surface. It's not gonna. There's no momentum. There's no, driving force behind it to get to the end of that level. So what do? You do PO. The P then drops onto the O, and then that just gives it the forward momentum to start rolling and go to that. It's very strange.
Lucy, as soon as you said physics-based puzzle game, like my fucking ears pricked up, and I'm like, yeah, it's this. So like, Supertype is on Android.
Good.
It's £1.69, and I have just purchased it.
See, this is what I like. I only come on this podcast to tell Ben what games to play. But yeah, it's fun. I think I rinsed like all the levels in like one day or something. There's quite a few. I think there's like 120 levels. But yeah, they get more advanced in the further on you go. I do find that you are using like similar kinds of letters, but I think that's because more of the fact that it's like, I know how these letters are going to react to your physics, which are, for a physics-based puzzle, that really, 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 really consistent, which is important, because it's like, a lot of physics games, the physics are not very consistent, but in this one, they very much are. Nice. But yeah, it's like, okay, I know how this is going to react. I know what I can do with this. So I did find myself using the same kinds of letters, but that's not to, a question of the game's design, because maybe not every single level.
I suppose maybe it's the cleverness of using like the alphabet to do this rather than something else, because physics-wise, you have a very defined that you can kind of get to and use with that, and if you, as you say, like you want something to kind of stop stalwart
Yeah.
and stay in position as something maybe bashes against them and then moves in a different direction or something like that. So very clever. The alphabet.
It's really novel. Yeah, and they do levels where it's like, okay, there's probably only one solution to it, but a lot of levels you can experiment and, you know, with different combinations of letters and still get to the same result. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's weird, but it's very good. It's very good. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but the other mobile game that I wanted to talk to you about.
Am I gonna have to buy this one as well?
I think you already have it. Mini Metro. Everyone should have
yes.
this game by now. Yeah.
I don't have it on mobile, but I have it on
PC.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's a game that I started years ago, and I just never found the time to play it because it's very much a game that you can play endlessly.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, I think it came out in 2014. It is a would you call it a traffic management simulator?
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
You're basically building what we call over here like undergrounds or train lines, or some of them can have tunnels and bridges and intersections and all this like that. But yes, it's a very cleanly designed like puzzle game where you are building your own train lines to intersect between different stops, and you're trying to get these passengers, which are in the just shapes like circles, triangles, stars, etc. like that. That's how they're represented. It's a very minimalistic look. You're trying to get them all to their destination point and ensuring that there's no congestion, there's no traffic, stations aren't overloading with passengers, etc. It's a traffic management simulator.
It is, but it's one of those where it's kind of, it is like a pure puzzle game as well, because you're trying to get certain shapes to certain spaces, aren't you?
Yeah.
Essentially, you need to connect things in very specific ways to be able to move, certain shapes to certain spaces. Essentially,
yeah, but it's very automated in the fact that the game does most of the heavy work for you. It's like it's not you're having to direct these shapes where to go. It's like, okay, if two lines are intersecting, you're not having to say, okay, literally, if you were to direct me on the underground, who'd be absolutely lost. To say, Lucy, you have to go here, and then you have to go here to get to this point. It does it automatically. The AI knows what to do.
Yeah.
So you just have to.
There's a path that it will automatically figure it out.
Yeah, exactly, and it will automate itself, so it always knows the most efficient and fastest way to go down to that path. Yeah, so. It's not like you're having to micromanage these things, you're just having to lay the tracks so that everyone can get to somewhere at some point, but everything in between that is automated. But yeah, it's a really, really, really puzzle game, and it's addictive as hell. It's like you just want to see these little shapes go bloop, and get off and go bloop. Yeah, and it's really, really good.
I haven't played it in a few months, but I recall in some of the later levels just things are still working, but I clearly didn't do this the most efficient way because there's a slight backlog, and I know that I might be able to pass this level, but boy, can I not fuck up in the future. It's curved well enough that you can make a mistake and notice that mistake without it meaning you failed the level.
Yeah, and you can also pause the level. Yeah, you can. I found this out the hard way, but you can pause a level and you can erase tracks and you can redo them. So it's
you can.
It's in certain modes. I think.
Totally different game.
It is, because I was like, oh crap, I've messed up. What am I gonna do? But you can. To be fair, I learned, after watching a YouTube video like Mini Metro Strats, I was like, okay, I don't actually. As long as I do it right the first time round. I don't have to end up erasing things, which on iOS is very hard. On PC would be much easier, but yeah. So I just made sure I did it right the first time round. But yeah, it does become it's like, okay, I'm costing the government millions and millions and billions of pounds with this strange underground system, but at least people are getting places, and I'm not failing the level. Failing the level is basically when it becomes too crowded and over congested.
I like how the maps are, or at least the landscape is based on real
life
cities
cities
as well.
Yeah.
I don't think the stations perhaps don't pop up in the the real world locations of stations kind of as the level progresses. But it's nice to kind of have somewhere and think, oh, this seems a little bit familiar. Why is this river flowing in this certain way? I know this place.
Yeah.
Or at least I've seen it in some form of graphic somewhere.
Yeah,
talking about maybe
it's really good.
Not London, basically.
Yeah, and it adapts the levels to those different kinds of cities. Like I don't know, New York and San Francisco. It's like, okay, we're going across islands, so you only have so many underground tunnels or bridges to get across, and you have to assign and allocate resources appropriately. It's like the game basically ticks down. It's like every single day. You get a new. You can choose between like, oh, okay, I want an extra carriage for this line, or I want to have more tunnels for this map, or I want to have more trains or more lines, etc. And you have to make a choice, and that adapts, for each level. So it's like in something like, oh, San Francisco, I'm going to need more tunnels because we're going across separate islands, whereas in like a mainland, I don't know, India or something, Mumbai, all I need, because it's one landmass, is basically more lines or bigger carriages because there's more people or something like that. And it's really smart the way it adapts to different, real world locations. And St. Petersburg is the worst map on that game. It's awful. It's absolute nonsense. It's like the 6th, 7th level in the game, the hardest level. Everything after that was fine. It was like breeze. St. Petersburg's nonsense.
Good to know.
It's awful. I banged my head against the wall for about 2 hours trying to finish that level. I was like,
that's
what
quite
is
long
this?
in mini Metro terms. Yeah.
Nonsense. It was like,
no. I mean,
they didn't balance the game for that. St. Petersburg.
Maybe St. Petersburg is a nightmare to get around.
Probably.
And it's exactly as it's meant to be.
Probably.
Yes.
Awful. It's all those silly little things in like, and islets and so, what are you doing? This weird landmass. No one should. Who needs to get a train in the middle of like nowhere in Russia? Who lives there? Who's coming out on the train? No.
Potato farmers.
Hike. Don't get a train. Not my train, anyway.
Just walk, mate.
Drive to the
Well, yes, you could just drive, I suppose. I really enjoyed sort of like my time with Mini Metro.
It's really good. It's very, very good.
And it came out in a time when there weren't that many like very slick puzzle games as well. It had a very cornered the market, I think, very well in that regard when it released. Obviously a few years later we get like The Witness, and we're kind of seeing a little bit of a resurgence in sort of puzzle games lately as well. I'm not sure whether that's just because people are pushing them maybe more towards different platforms, and like we were talking about like G30 and stuff, whether different kind of puzzle games are starting to come out. Puzzle games have kind of always existed, haven't they? Going back to like Myst, and even like the inclusion of puzzles in things like the Tomb Raider games and stuff, or even in Resident Evil games and things. The element of kind of like puzzles have always kind of existed, but Mini Metro just seemed to be this like super slick, very stylized, very easy to understand game. for that time. So it's brilliant that you're kind of returning to it after all of this time.
I'm just gutted it's taken me this long, but I'm just looking at the dev now. Dinosaur Polo Club, which is the best name, and also they have the best logo. So these guys are just cool. But yeah, they haven't made anything since by the look of it. So
yeah, just ported to fucking everything.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because it came to Switch. Because I've got it on Switch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I finally got around to playing it. It's very, very, very
good. So Lucy, have you played anything else, or perhaps I have a question I may pose if you haven't got anything else of note to kind of to bring.
Did
I talk about Pikuniku on this podcast?
No.
I can't even remember.
No,
we haven't spoken about Pikuniku.
Last time you talked about it, you were saying it was coming out, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I missed a few weeks, wasn't it? Yeah, it's good. It was good. It's a Mr. Men platformer. It's very good. It's a very cute and sweet and light-hearted platformer that's all about capitalism, and you play as a long-legged red blob with long legs. It's physicsy. It's light-hearted. It's cheerful. You speak to like little townsfolk about how they're just bowing down to capitalism, and then you join an underground guerrilla faction who wants to fight against capitalism.
It's just all about primates with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you just kill capitalism. It's cool. It's very...
So, essentially everyone...
Yeah, on the Switch, yeah.
and everyone should play this as an allegory about how we need to move forward as a society in the future.
Yeah, this game that's sold on in different marketplaces, and Lucy specifically played it on the one where there's an arbitrary capitalistic extra amount. Yeah, that sounds totally reasonable.
But guess what? It's published by Devolver Digital, so it doesn't matter.
It was double digits. Oh dear.
Yeah, that's Pikuniku.
I might have to pick it up on the Switch.
It's cute. It's about, I think it took me about 4 hours. It's like Ape Out. It's just a very enjoyable experience for what it is. It's very short. It doesn't last long. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and that's nice. It's like you will enjoy what you play of it. It's not going to blow your mind in terms of like, oh my god, that was a in-depth narrative or the most intensely, amazing gameplay or anything like that. But that's all I can ask nowadays. I just like games that are nice.
Yeah.
That are nice. That I can just play and that are nice. Like
nice games.
Yeah, because I played the Yoshi's Crafted World demo. And that was nice. And Captain Toad's DLC. That was just nice. I was like, these are nice. I don't want to kill people.
All these nice Switch games.
I don't want to kill people unless I'm a gorilla. I just want to chill out.
And clearly killing people for a reason. There's definite motivation for that gorilla.
They tortured that gorilla.
People. Yeah, exactly.
They just don't show you that at the start of the game, but they definitely tortured him.
So, to finish us off this week, I kind of want to pose a question. We mentioned earlier about Game Pass possibly coming to like other platforms, and I kind of just wanted to chat around that. The idea of a subscription service, whether each of us would kind of like pick that up if it was available like somewhere else, and what that kind of offers to kind of like each of us. Obviously, Lucy, you're coming from this being a Game Pass kind of holder at the moment. Do you still have it at the moment?
Yeah, I bought it a few days ago. £2 for 2 months. So yeah.
So I suppose Aadil, I'm going to come to you first. But it's an interesting point. You say you paid £2 for 2 months, as to whether you'd get that kind of deal on a different platform as well. You know, in the news we've been hearing that
I think you would.
Coming to
At
Switch.
least introductory. Because what they usually do as standard is £1 for it's either 14-day or free trial.
Yeah.
Right.
And they keep doing deals throughout the year. At least, you know, God knows what it will be in the future, but for Xbox. So I've never paid more than £1 for a month of game.
Yeah.
And you just
essentially
take some time off until
because it's like
offer comes on. Basically.
It's like that's what I do, because it's like I have enough games as it is, and especially if Xbox being my main console, most of my games are on that system. So it's like if my Game Pass lapses, I've got 600 other games to play.
Yeah.
So it's not too big a deal, but yeah. So yeah, I think it's more interesting to hear from you, Aadil, and you, Ben, as people who don't have Xboxes anymore. Aadil, your main console is PC, Ben, PS4.
Well, I mean, my main platform would be PC if my PC was had a working graphics card.
Notwithstanding that,
Yeah.
usually it'd be PC.
I mean, so
yeah.
I am currently thinking, well, do I build another PC? Because so the graphics card I had loaned to you, Ben, doesn't work in the PC that I have, which leads me to believe that I blew out the motherboard and the graphics card at the same time.
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
It
would you
was
pay
upgradable.
$7.99?
Yeah. So it's like, that's a much bigger thing for someone who is entering a job market.
Mm.
Also,
because you've got the Humble bundle monthly thing. So
yeah.
would you see yourself paying £7.99 to get and probably mostly for you, an Xbox exclusive? Let's say, optimistically, every 3 months. And some additional games.
And some additional games.
I
So, like
think-
Shadow of the Tomb Raider wouldn't have come to Humble Bundle yet, would it? But it is available on Game Pass. So there are some additional third-party kind of key titles that come to it.
So, like, Hitman Season 1 came a year after, like, November 2018. Humble Bundle.
Yeah.
I gave it away in a Facebook group. Because I already owned it, but never played it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to be honest, I need to figure out what my gaming habits will
Yeah, true.
because
Because
although I don't have a dissertation, I suspect I'm not going to be gaming all day every day. And like I'm pretty sure I'm buying the Division 2 and Ben and I are going to play it together.
Yeah.
And that will eat up a large chunk of my potential gaming time, and so I might, like, to be honest, I have a bunch of non-intensive and old games, and my motherboard has an Intel integrated graphics card. So except for the fact that it's plugged into a 4K TV, which I'll have to dumb down, like, I can play a bunch of these old games on whatever the fuck is left in the smoking remains that are my PC. But I don't, like, I'm not a big graphics person, and I've got a huge backlog of games. I think I'm just going to see how much I want to play games in a given day and then go from there. And, like, if that means that I don't upgrade the PC or fix the PC and end up buying an Xbox again for the breadth of games against the PS4, or just focus on the PS4, become a whole Switch head. I don't know. It'll be an interesting couple months.
It's a weird time for you, so
Yeah.
too early to tell you. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see
But I mean,
which way you go after such a
the rumors
long
about
hiatus.
Xbox coming to Games Pass coming to the Switch or whatever that rumor is.
It's not more enticing.
Yeah, that's super interesting because I own that one of those platforms.
Yeah.
True.
and I really enjoyed Xbox Gold, and I eyed the Games Pass, but it was like I'm paying so few games and I own too many platforms. And honestly, the people I play games played play games with on the Xbox sort of I lost touch with, and that's the main reason I got rid of it. I mean, if Lucy liked playing games with other people, I'd probably still have an Xbox. But right now, like,
I
you're
don't
my
want to play
gaming,
with you.
yeah, you're my gaming people, and
Yeah. We'll play on PC.
yeah.
How about you, Ben? Like even in a case of like you said that you've like never played the Gears series or you know, like stuff like that. Like those are on like Xbox Game Pass via, you know, Xbox 360 backwards compatibility. For, like all that library, like all of Xbox One games and 360 games and original Xbox games were available on PS4. Would you pay £7.99 a month to?
So I mean, like, Game Pass is available on PC.
Well, sort of.
Kind of.
In a sense.
In a sense,
So
not the
like,
full package.
the reboot or remaster, whatever, of the first Gears of War came out on both platforms, and I got it on some form of Xbox, and so through Games Anywhere, I own it on PC, despite the fact that I bought it on Xbox. And any title that has that Games Anywhere that's on Games Pass, you will be able to play on PC.
Right.
So Games Pass is weirdly PC friendly, but specifically an Xbox thing.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That kind of maybe limits my choice a bit what I'm able to kind of play, but I don't subscribe to it currently, even though there are some games that I maybe missed out on that I could
So like Horizon, you can
on my PC.
Games Pass has Horizon 3.
Yeah, 3. Does it have 4? It must have.
4 Game Pass is on. 4 is on Game Pass. Yeah,
and that came out on the PC, so you would be able to play that on your rig.
So,
for example.
So for example, but I'm not that interested in Forza Horizon. I'm not that interested in driving games enough for that to be a driver for me to be able to kind of pick that up. I'm not a person who goes back to playing older games much at all. So everyone's screaming about backwards compatibility as being like the next must-have thing for every console going into like every next generation possible. But for me, that's not a selling point. You know, I'm not that fussed about returning. I might be more inclined to go back to games I haven't experienced. So something like Gears of War, and you know, if I know that the next Gears of War game is coming out and I can play that on my PC, maybe I'm a little bit more inclined to go back to playing, you know, not even maybe the first Gears of War, but maybe just the previous game.
Gears of War 4 is very, very good.
And experiencing that before the next game comes out, I might do that. But kind of as it stands, even if it came to PS4, I don't think I would pick it up. But the difference, the change for that is the third-party games that perhaps, and if there is, you know, and the next Gears game, if there is an exclusive Microsoft game that is coming day and date to Game Pass, and I could then play that, you know, I can.
Crackdown 3.
I actually really want to play that. Like, I need to turn my brain off and just play something about smashing, like Ape Out.
There's a really good video about the plot of Crackdown, the end of Crackdown 1 and 2 on Polygon.
There's a plot?
Yeah, because it turns out at the end of... I didn't remember this, but at the end of Crackdown 1, it turns out the head of the agency reveals that they're bad guys. But then in Crackdown 2, they don't address it, except if you find a bunch of unlocks. And it turns out you were the representative of evil people trying to subvert things and the universe.
But you guess what?
Everything about it is just... the point is, the game is jumpy, shooty, super powered. Who cares? But if you're interested and you follow the unlocks, you realize how bad your bosses are, even while you're being jumpy, shooty. And they run they run that dichotomy really well in the video on Polygon.
Yes,
but it's like, oh right,
Terry Crews. There's nothing evil about Terry Crews.
Oh,
he's a beautiful human.
He is a wonderful.
I don't trust beauty.
Anyway,
so Crackdown 3 doesn't really appeal to me, but
yeah, I was more talking about
some
the
titles.
overall
So,
package, like third-party
package.
games, like
Exactly, and not just maybe third-party games, but maybe some games that are, say, like Xbox and PC exclusive, something like Tunic. If that came to Game Pass, because it's not coming out on PS4 supposedly,
it will.
If that came to Game Pass, and it was cheaper for me to pay for Game Pass for a month than it was for me to just buy Tunic through Steam, then of course I would pay for a month of Game Pass, and I would play Tunic for a week, 2 weeks maybe, and then get to experience all of the other games if I wanted to. That were available on Game Pass, so it kind of it does appeal to me, but only under kind of like certain criteria, and only if certain games kind of came to it. So again, if it was available on PS4 now, and I know that I want to play Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it's available. Why wouldn't I just pay £8 for the month? Play Shadow of the Tomb Raider, because that's the cheapest I'm going to be able to play it for.
Exactly.
And it's not going to take me the entire month to play it, so I'm going to have kind of like extra time, possibly, to delve into the other games that are on Game Pass. And I think maybe that's how they get their knowledge, isn't it? So you're like, I haven't quite. My subscription runs out on Sunday, but I'm in the middle of playing this game, and I know that it will take me through next week. Like, maybe I'll just pay for next month and continue my subscription to this. Going on. It's kind of
that's absolutely what it is. It's like EA Access, something. Well, you get Origin Access, but EA Access. It's like I paid £20 for the year to get access to all EA games at some point. Which is, they're getting £20 from someone who would probably not pay £20 at all, except if, bar Yanni to Yanni's Gritty Revenge.
Yanni's Revenge.
It's like, I see it as, if I play one game from EA's staple of games, I've earned my money back.
Totally.
So that's exactly what Microsoft are going for. Like,
if
someone paid us £8 on PlayStation, they would never have even looked at Microsoft before, because fanboys for a start and all that crap. But
exactly, and that's kind of like, that's the crux of it, isn't it? Like, I could go and pay whatever Shadow of the Tomb Raider is on PlayStation Store, and PlayStation take whatever their cut of that is, or I could pay £8 directly to Microsoft, and they've already given their money over to Square to host Shadow of the Tomb Raider on their servers for everyone to play it through Game Pass. So I'm kind of giving my money directly to Microsoft. So I can't see it coming to PlayStation. It's why would PlayStation allow people to just give
I think PlayStation would dig their feet in. Yeah, definitely. But I think it's just super smart. It's like,
it is super smart, and especially for Switch, which doesn't have the,
because they're not competing directly.
Doesn't have they're not competing directly. Exactly, they don't have the capability to play some of these games that are on Game Pass. It'd be interesting to see when it does come out how limited it is, whether it is just the full experience or whether it is a pared back experience. Maybe you don't get
everything's
as many games
pared back on Switch.
Well, you're using the power of the cloud, right? I would imagine you're playing, you're streaming games
that works
directly.
Well,
Game Pass isn't like PlayStation Now.
No.
You can download games, but
but if
you're
it's
you're not
going
to download Shadow of the Tomb Raider to your Switch.
Yeah.
No, it'd tell you about 5 seconds into the download that no space. I mean, looking at it from the other angle, then if PlayStation, if Sony decided like, we're going to put all our first-party games on our streaming system, whatever, I would never buy another PlayStation again. I'd just be like, I will pay for that, and that's it. I will play it on my Xbox.
Completely, and it's
dependent on how good the streaming set.
But again, I think it shows maybe a little bit about the two different companies as well, that Microsoft are looking to expand. Maybe it's their market position at the moment. They're looking to expand their services that they have. Whereas PlayStation had you had the ability to sign up for PlayStation Now and play your games over their Gaikai infrastructure on Samsung TVs. That was baked in to a certain generation of Samsung TVs.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
And then Sony suddenly went, no, we're not going to do this anymore. Maybe it didn't benefit them. Maybe they had the statistics and the numbers that came back, and it didn't kind of benefit them.
That's what ultimately.
Or maybe they were just like, we want this on Xperia things.
Precisely, like, if someone could buy a Samsung TV and have this, why not make them buy a Sony TV for them to have this? Yes, that could very much be the driving force behind that.
Yeah, this is what frustrates me about Sony, to be honest. Like, I think Microsoft is just so forward thinking in terms of all the from the very start of the Xbox 360 generation. Like, they've just always been about services, and it's like traditional games and games cons been around since the beginning of time, and Sony have been doing that. They've been killing that this generation, and obviously I care a hell more about Sony's software than Microsoft's, to be honest. But in terms of services and making it easy and convenient and just having everything around the game, far more important now, especially where we're going in the future. And that's why I hope Sony next console generation can offer more services, because for me, I am just like...
Well, to be honest,
if it wasn't for the software, as people are, inversely for Microsoft, I'd just be like completely out of that ecosystem. And they're lucky they have the software, basically. I mean, amazing software.
To be honest, if Microsoft announced what they wanted the Xbox One to be when they announced the Xbox One X, they would have killed it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
they were just the market wasn't ready for what they were saying. Like right now, if you said, "Yeah, we're gonna get rid of we're just gonna focus on digital media," given the way the world is, people would be like, "Well, that kind of sucks," but yeah, sure. But just they
were good 5 years too early.
The huge pushback, and the problem is they didn't doubling down wouldn't have been good, but splitting their market from this is where we want to go, but these are our concessions. Instead, they just backpedaled and lost. Yeah,
it was the messaging. It was the messaging was just bad. But that for me, I was all on board with that.
Yeah,
and that seems so much more promising to me. It's
I
know that their forward thinking. Sony seem very archaic and very
they're
draconian.
They're a 90s company, aren't they? Yeah. They haven't moved much from when they were formed.
I don't want to see them go the way of Nintendo, where you are so draconian. It's like, what are you doing?
I think we're coming into a point now where Sony are kind of thinking, we kind of got away with it a little bit with the PS3. We have the hardware, and we've got the jump. We had the hardware and we had the jump that the PS4, building then on the games and the exclusives that we have.
Yeah, but that's
now Microsoft are kind of changing the dynamic a little bit. And Microsoft have gone, here are all our acquisitions to lead into the next, say, 2 or 3 years. Hellblade was my favourite game 2 years ago, or not 2 years ago. 2 years ago. So, I want to know what they are making next. That is going to be an Xbox or at least a Microsoft platform exclusive. So, it just drive me to buy an Xbox, but it's going to pull me away from a purchase on a PlayStation.
I just don't want the hubris to catch up to Sony, because it looks like that's the way they're going.
It looks like they're gonna the PS5 might be a Dreamcast.
No, not even. It'll still sell better than the next Xbox. No doubt about that, and they have the wind behind their sails. I think at this stage,
in the beginning of the generation, but mid-generation,
anything can change. But I Sony is still the leader, and rightly so. They've got the best software. They've got a very good console, but I just don't want to see them backpedal in the way that it's like, oh, we're so far ahead and everything like that. Hubris comes back, PS3, kind of archaic stuff comes back. I don't think that will happen too much, because it seems like Sony of America has more power than Sony of Japan at this point.
Yeah.
But still, I want to enjoy playing on PlayStation again, because I love PlayStation. I've got all
I
the
wish
consoles, so there you go.
They just need to look at their fucking goddamn infrastructure.
Yes, and that's
I'm
what
sorry,
I'm,
but
it's
like,
like. It's awful.
Everything
It's like,
takes longer,
ugh.
way longer than it should, and
There's no
it's
unity
always
to
clunky.
what they do because
Always
it's
clunky,
like
no matter what you do, even if it's
Yes.
in games where the game is now taking over things, or you're using the PSN to do things, it's just so
I literally
clunky.
cannot stand it.
Yeah.
And Microsoft has its problems, and the UI is pretty dreadful there as well. But it's
Well,
like
it
at least
works
have
and it's
all these.
quick. Huh.
Yes, they have backwards compatibility. They have Game Pass. They have all the. Just see what you're doing. They have all this stuff, and it's like I just.
fanboy.
It's like, to be honest, it's been easier on my wallet, like having one console where it's like, yes, I'm only going to have one online thing. Forget Switch, forget PSN. It's like, whatever. But
completely.
it's like, but it's still like, you know, come on, son.
I mean,
I want to
one-
enjoy playing on PlayStation again.
One
I
of the
just
reasons
didn't
why I like
the last
PC gaming
two.
is you don't pay to play. You pay
Sure.
for game.
Yeah.
And pay less for the game. So,
Especially
you know what?
wait
I'm just
a
going to
week.
get a gaming
Yeah.
PC. What am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm going to become Master Race.
I was just say, I mean, and if you're not, as long as you don't want a PC that's supposed to last 7 years and play everything in Ultra for that 7 years, it's not that expensive.
That's true.
One day I'll get a gaming PC. And I'll be like, you know what? I was wrong all this time.
Yeah, no.
Mm. I know, absolutely. I went. PC
like,
sucks.
Fucking
Let's
Windows. And then
finish
Windows.
there for this week. Talk about the beers that we've enjoyed this episode. I'm going to start because I'm ready, and it's quite an easy one for me actually this week. I enjoy both beers, but the Odyssey Brewing Company, the Show Me a Hero. Whilst I think I described it as, you know, a very middling kind of IPA, it's just a very good IPA. Really like the Yonder Suki was a really nice beer, but it was kind of like, okay, yeah, this is fine. Very tart, had those estery sort of notes going on. I'm like, yeah, this is fine. I'm enjoying this, but I would, if I went into a pub and I saw both beers on tap next to each other, I'd instantly pick the Odyssey.
Yeah.
That is the beer I want to have again. Both very well kind of like made beers, whilst I kind of, jumped on the Odyssey a little bit for being a bit middling. I think that actually works in its favour very slightly, to kind of, against something that's maybe a little bit more out there, that maybe the flavour profile is a little bit more different. So, yeah, two good beers, one which maybe I think I would pick again over the other one.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for the French beer, the Ninkasi Blanche. I liked them both. I was a little thrown originally by the 5 Points JUPA because it was much more malty than juicy, as you would expect from a thing called Juicy Pale Ale. But really, it's just the flow between the different moments of the taste on the Ninkasi was just there, and the 5 Points was sort of like, oh yeah, this is quite malt forward, and if I pay attention, I'm going to see those tropical fruits that they're talking about, and that's really nice, and I like that they're there, but they weren't really like they weren't melded well. They didn't all come out. It was much more like a, oh, well, I see these are here. Well, the Ninkasi sort of was a simpler taste, but it did it really well, and everything was forward, and there wasn't a lot of effort to be able to appreciate a few things that were going on in the beer.
Yeah, and it helps that we still don't know what style Bleu is.
Yeah, that's true.
Where did you get the Bleu beer from?
I came in this cardboard box that was sent to my house, even though I thought that my standard debit was not going.
Can't keep going on with this. You have to end this relationship.
I'm going to call
talked
them
about this.
on Monday.
Do it via text. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Lucy, I think I know which one you're gonna pick, but
Yeah, my mojito's alright. But it's a mojito. Not
Not a beer.
Not quite my style. Yeah, it's beer, but it's not a beer.
A creamy mojito at that.
Creamy, but not too creamy. But not
Yeah.
creamy enough for a milkshake. But yeah, it's the Midnight BBQ, the spelt IPA from Crack. Yeah, it's what I was sorely missing every sip I had of this Yonder Beyond Brew beer. Yeah, it's just juicy, fruity, citrus, tropical, dank. It's an IPA, and it's much like the rest of their IPAs. Just very juicy and fruit forward. They know what they are. They know what they're doing. That's all I really wanted. But yeah, the mojito. I shouldn't call it mojito. That's very damning. If you don't like mojito,
I was just saying. I don't know. I like mojito.
yeah. Tiki's turtles. I really like the can art. To be fair, there's like a hop in like a scuba outfit. He's like swimming around with these turtles. It's very pretty. They got really pretty can art. Can art. Wander Beyond. But yeah, the Midnight BBQ for me this week.
Nice.
Knows what it is. Simple.
Good.
That's all you need.
Yeah. So, if you want to talk about the beers you have been drinking or the games that you have been playing, you can get us on Twitter at tanktap_cash. You can email us tanktapcast@gmail.com. Aadil, you're a free man. If people want to play games or talk to you, how do they do so?
You can reach me at the Omniarch on all of the things, including Xbox, though I don't have an Xbox, and at _Omniarch on Twitch, though I don't use it. And contact me on any of those platforms, Twitter, Instagram, etc., for my Switch code. And yeah, I have time to play things. I will play.
Hooray! Finally. So you have to play Obra Dinn, you have to play Golf Peaks, you have to play... What else, Ben? Come on, let's listen.
Play Obra Dinn next. Yeah,
Red Dead. Yeah, Obra Dinn has to
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
God of War.
Yes.
Celeste.
Yes,
To
absolutely.
finish Celeste, I have to finish Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh god, yes.
Yeah.
Just play all the games.
Lucy.
Yes.
You're free as well! Hooray! If people want to play games or talk to you, how do they do so?
It's JuicyLoose9 on Twitter, Untapped, Xbox, PlayStation, and that's about it. Steam as well. And tell me what you thought about today's Jeremy Carr, because I watched Jeremy Carr. This woman was genuinely more upset that her aunt ate her lemon cake than she was upset about her aunt potentially stealing money from her purse.
What?
Yeah. She had a lie detector to see if her aunt stole money from her purse or phone.
Oh.
But she was more concerned about who ate her lemon cake.
Well, maybe it was a diamond encrusted cake.
Ooh.
No, it's just a normal lemon drizzle cake.
Tells you all you need to know about the society that we live in currently. So
yeah.
We're going to finish that for this week. I am at Nova_47, but I'm playing narrative-based games, so you don't want to play with me.
Ooh, which narrative-based game's playing?
Metro Exodus again.
Oh, okay. That's more of it.
Do you think a 7-year-old Intel integrated card can play the first Metro?
Yeah. Why not?
I'm sure it can.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I played that and I was like, look at all these demon dogs running at my train.
Well. Oh, that's one of the things about Metro Exodus. Just the level of detail is absurd.
Yeah, it looks very, very pretty. All those
Because I never played either of
all
those.
those Eastern European developers know how to like make pretty games. I don't know what it is.
They do.
Like just pedigree over there. It's crazy.
Go ahead. I don't remember what I was going to say.
I was going to round us out and say, if you want to play something absolutely fantastic graphically, there you go. A good selection of developers over in
Out.
Eastern Europe.
Go play that game made by Crytek a million years ago. Crisis. Yeah, play Crisis. It'll still probably
Fucking
blow
hell.
up your PC.
In fact,
gonna
Crisis
say.
3 looks fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
So, for another week, we've been saying goodbye.
Bye.
Ciao.
It's very sensual.
Yeah.